Meta released an announcement a few weeks ago that I think is worth digging into for all of us as advertisers, because there's implications on how it makes our jobs both easier and harder at the same time. Let's unpack it. So there's 4 updates. There's Gem, there's Lattice, there's Andromeda, and then there's sequence learning. And so we can go through each of them one by one, talking about the update itself, then translating it into plain language, and then talking about the impact on what it has when it comes to our day-to-day decision-making and what we do with our hands on the keyboard, or what your team does. All right, we got the first one up, which is Meta Gem, and they call it the super brain. So generative Gem is a powerful new machine learning model trained on thousands of GPU to optimize results for ad products, delivering an improvement in ad performance. Gem enables the ad system to rapidly process large amounts of data to deliver highly relevant and personalized ads, and has enabled a paradigm shift for recommender systems. We recently rolled out Gem more broadly in our ad system, following the success in improved ad conversion results in Meta Reels earlier this year. Said differently, and they give us an analogy here, which is helpful. Imagine having a super brain that can read an entire library of books in seconds, understand the relationships between all the characters, remember every single detail, and connect the details into an understanding of the sequence of events a person goes through across all types of activities. That's what Gem does for Meta's ad system. Catalogs, analyzes, and connects trillions of pieces of information, making it incredibly intelligent and effective. With Gem, Meta's recommendation system learns from an enormous amount of data, recognizes subtle patterns, and provides the most relevant ads to the right person at the right time with low latency. And the results of the initial launch on Meta Reels this year, Gem has increased ad conversions by up to 5%. I figured what better way to actually understand what they actually mean by this than to use AI to translate it for us so we can understand what this means in plain English. So what is Meta Gem again? Gem is Meta's new superbrain, a highly advanced AI model that takes in massive volumes of data to decide who should see your ad, which creative version they should see, when they should see it. It's trained on trillions of data points across Meta's ecosystem and can now make faster, smarter, more personalized decisions. Why is Gem important? It changes how ads are matched to people. Old systems focused more on basic inputs like demographics or behaviors. Gem goes deeper, learning from tiny behavioral signals like scroll speed, pauses, multi-device activity to infer intent, which I think is really important because you can be 65 years old but still feel 16 inside and engage with content like a 16-year-old, right? Just because you're 55 years old doesn't mean you don't enjoy a meme that everybody else likes. It's smarter because it has more data and better memory. The bigger and smarter the model, the more it can understand context, not just whether someone clicks, but what kind of person tends to click and buy. That is a good thing to us as advertisers because we don't want people who just click. We want people who will click and buy. So I like that. It unlocks performance without needing you to micromanage targeting. The machine now sees patterns you can't, meaning broad targeting with great inputs beats narrow targeting with average ones. So this one over here isn't actually that new to most advertisers these days. I'd say in probably 80% of the accounts we're in, they're most of the time running broad. But the value here is in understanding the technology a little more and not just believing the reason why we should go broad through a series of broken telephone because Johnny said it, and then Adam said it, and then Amanda said it, and then Daryl said it, and that's why we use broad, right? Now we actually have a little bit more nuance into the understanding of why going broad actually makes sense. What this means for your day-to-day as an advertiser, what to do more of: feed the beast with more creative inputs, upload multiple variations, headlines, images, videos, CTAs, even subtle changes, color, hook, pacing, give the model more to work with. Let targeting breathe. Use broad or Advantage Plus audiences more often. Focus your energy on creative and conversion path, not splitting audiences manually. Again, I'd say the large majority of people have already gotten on to the broad train. However, what's interesting to me is actually the first point around subtle changes, because I think there tends to be a bit of a divide between iterative changes that are more subtle versus more net new changes that are truly diverse. I think in this case with Gem, it may make the argument that it's not an either or decision, but rather a yes and decision where you're doing both for the sake of giving Facebook and Gem the resources to do its job, to give the right piece of creative with the right iteration to the right person at the right time. Measure the right metrics, look at performance lift across campaigns, not just CTR or ROAS per creative. Gem optimizes for conversion across multiple touchpoints. So the implications of this are actually pretty meaningful. As an example, here's an ad account, last 7 days, has spent about $7,000 in total. And the logical thing to do is to look at the ads that have quote unquote lower performance, like this one at a 1.42. Maybe you'd say this one here at a 1.6. And then maybe you'd say this one at a 1.63. Because the rest of them are higher, you got a 2.95 over here and a 2.65. You might say the ones that are underperforming, quote unquote, over here in the blue arrows, you would want to turn those off, right? Logically. However, with Gem being part of the system that's running the show, what may be happening here instead is that these ads that are quote unquote not doing as well may actually just be serving a different part of the journey. Like how on a basketball team, you might have different players who serve different roles when going from one side of the court to the next. Or maybe that's a better analogy for football or soccer. But the key thing is not evaluating ads and ad performance in a siloed, isolated scenario. Because it may happen where if you start turning some of these off, the implication of that may be your overall spend will start to drop because they were serving the role of perhaps starting the conversation with new consumers. And then these other ones that are doing better at 2.65 and 2.95 are closing the deal. What to stop doing? Don't oversegment. Avoid creating tons of ad sets with tiny budget splits by interest or age, which I think a lot of advertisers these days have already discontinued. Don't rely on one creative per ad. This limits Gem's ability to match users with the best message. By this, my interpretation of it is that when you are loading ads in, we may want to consider loading in multiple primary texts and multiple headlines, and maybe even leaning into Facebook's flexible ad format. And then don't assume manual control equals better results, which I think is a bias that we all have as humans. The AI outperforms most human targeting now when given enough data. Example scenario. Old way, you run 3 ad sets, one for women 25 to 34, one for 35 to 44, one for 45 to 54. Each ad set has one creative. You try to control delivery manually. Gem way, you run one broad campaign to women 25 to 54. You upload 5 image variations, 3 videos, and 4 different headlines. Gem matches the right combination to the right people, learning in real time which combos convert best. So what's interesting here is that I think it gives the argument for why you don't necessarily want to choose between iterative changes, or rather iterative variations, and net new / meaningfully and drastically different creatives, but rather to do both. The goal is not one ad to rule them all, but the goal is let's be like a froyo restaurant where you have lots of different flavors, and the base thing that we're selling is frozen yogurt, but it comes in different ways to appeal to a lot of different people. And sure, there's probably going to be some sort of power law distribution where there's going to be a lot more people gravitating towards one specific variation. But what this starts to sound like is the idea isn't to focus only on that, but rather open up optionality because the system can handle it and the system is made for it. Bottom line, with Gem, your number one lever is creative input. It's not about who you show the ad to, it's about how many versions of the story you give Meta to test. The better and more varied your inputs, the more Gem can do the heavy lifting on targeting and optimization. Moving on, Lattice, Meta Lattice, the giant library. Meta Lattice is our ad ranking architecture that allows us to generalize learnings across campaign objectives and surfaces in place of numerous smaller ads models that have historically been optimized for individual objectives and surfaces. This is not only leading to increased efficiency as we operate fewer models, but also improving ad performance. These significantly larger models are able to learn more because they can represent steps that people take in their purchase journey across surfaces and campaigns. Said differently, think of Meta Lattice as one giant library. In the past, we had many small libraries, each dedicated to a specific subject, like history or art. Each library had its own set of books and librarians who were experts in that one subject. Now with Lattice, it's like we've combined all those small libraries into one library, connecting information from all subjects. It doesn't just have more books. The expert librarians can also learn from all the books it has and apply that knowledge to different subjects. This is much more efficient because we only maintain one library, and it can help people find better information faster, no matter what they're looking for. In the world of ads, this means we can use one powerful system to improve how ads are shown to people, making them more relevant and effective rather than relying on many smaller systems that each focus on just one type of ad product or placement destination. Results, Meta Lattice has increased ad quality by almost 12% and increased ad conversions by up to 6%. What does that really mean for us? What is Meta Lattice? Meta Lattice is an upgraded ad ranking architecture. Basically, it's the underlying structure that decides how ads get evaluated and delivered across different placements like feed, reels, stories, and campaign objectives like traffic conversion awareness. Previously, Meta used separate AI models for each campaign type and each placement. Lattice replaces all that with one massive unified system that learns across everything, one big library instead of many little ones. Why is Lattice important? It breaks down the silos between placements and objectives. Instead of needing a separate model to learn how ads perform in Reels versus feed, Lattice learns from all surfaces at once, making the system smarter and more efficient. I think this is really important because, as an example, as a user, you may bounce between feed and Reels, and you may react to content very differently on those different mediums. What triggers you to click on an ad in your Reels may be different than what's in your feeds. And also the sequencing of, let's say you see a certain type of content in your Reels and then you get shown something else in your feed that may lead to a subsequent click and purchase. So pretty exciting to me. It speeds up learning because everything feeds in the same system. Performance data from a Reels ad can help improve the ranking of a feed ad. That cross-learning wasn't possible before. So the implication here would be, the way I'm interpreting it, is that our reason for creating different ad formats like Reels and feed can now have a compounding effect on each other. And what I'll call the worth itness, as in, is it worth it for us to put this effort into creating the different formats, is actually worth it. It rewards advertisers who give the system more to learn from. If your campaign only runs on feed with one narrow objective, you're not giving Lattice much to work with. But if you run across multiple placements and objectives, Lattice can optimize faster. And it's interesting they're saying that because I think the guys at Ridge recently, they've been running more top of funnel stuff, I believe. So non-purchase optimized campaigns to help with reaching new audiences. And I think they've been having some success with that. So Lattice may actually be an explanation for why that is when compared to in years prior. Tactical implications. What you should do, use all placements unless there's a strong reason not to. Enable automatic placements. Don't restrict to only feed or only stories unless your creative truly won't work elsewhere. Lattice performs better with more exposure across surfaces. Test Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. These campaigns are built to take full advantage of Lattice's ability to optimize across surfaces and stages in the journey. Let Meta decide which placements are best for performance. Run campaigns with conversion-focused objectives. Because Lattice connects more dots in the buyer's journey, even campaigns with other objectives like traffic or video views can help it learn better if you eventually guide users to convert. Again, referring back to Ridge, this may be one of the reasons why it's working. Evaluate performance holistically. Instead of focusing on ROAS per ad set, focus on total campaign output. Lattice may allocate more budget to placements or formats that drive performance later in the funnel. So again, similar to here, because I am at the ad level, it's what I was saying earlier, which is don't put as much weight into each individual ad's performance, but rather look at how the campaigns are performing as a whole. And I may even extrapolate that to looking at how your account is doing as a whole. What you should stop doing: stop separating campaigns by placement unnecessarily. Don't split campaigns into reels only or feed only, unless testing something very specific. Stop isolating objectives. Avoid splitting out campaigns by things like awareness versus conversion. If they're targeting the same audiences, Lattice learns more effectively when everything is combined. This is where I don't really understand, and that's because I don't think you can run multiple objectives in a single campaign. Right now, when creating new campaigns, you have to choose the objective at the campaign level, and you can only choose one. But at the ad set level, you can optimize for different events. Stop obsessing over micrometrics, CPC by placement. Instead, trust that the system is optimizing for overall conversion efficiency, not just surface level metrics. Example scenario: old way, you run a campaign with reels only ads for traffic and feeds only for conversions. You manually allocate budgets based on surface level performance. The Lattice way, you run one consolidated campaign with automatic placements and a conversion goal. That makes sense then. So basically the awareness, quote unquote, and conversion is happening in the single campaign by setting the conversion goal as purchase conversion. And then by way of having automatic placements, you're able to take advantage of different parts of the funnel. Meta uses Lattice to learn from every interaction across placements to deliver the most efficient results, even if that means someone saw a video in Reels, clicked a carousel in feed, and converted from a story ad. Bottom line, Meta Lattice wants more signals, not more silos. That's a nice way to put it. More signals, not more silos. Your job is to combine instead of split. Give Meta a wider playground to learn from placements, creatives, objectives, and it will reward you with better performance over time. Next up, we got Meta Andromeda, the personal concierge. Andromeda is an innovative end-to-end hardware, software, machine learning co-design system introduced in 2024 with Meta Training and Inference Accelerator and NVIDIA Grace Hopper Superchip. This more efficient system enabled a 10,000 times increase in the complexity of models used for ads retrieval. The first step in the ranking process where we narrowed down a pool of tens of millions of ads to the few thousand we consider showing someone. The increase in model complexity enables running far more sophisticated prediction models to better personalize ads. And as businesses upload more and more creatives to support a diversification strategy, Meta Andromeda works behind the scenes to power more complex models that allows Meta to pick the right creative to deliver more personalized ads that are relevant and interesting. Said differently, imagine having a personal concierge who knows your taste so well that they don't just understand that you covet shoes, but that you like to wear red flip-flops at the beach. Meta Andromeda learns your preferences so Meta can show you ads that are more relevant and interesting. What I'm thinking here is, let's say my wife books a trip to the beach and they know that she likes to wear flip-flops. Shortly after booking a trip to the beach, they're probably going to start to show her ads of flip-flops. Results: Meta Andromeda has led to an 8% increase in ads quality, increasing the impact of Advantage Plus automation and creative Gen AI tools for advertisers. All right, let's take a look at the plain English version. So Andromeda is Meta's new AI engine and hardware system built to handle more complex personalized ad delivery. It powers what happens behind the scenes when Meta chooses which ad creative to show to whom, especially when you've uploaded many variations. It combines Meta's chips with powerful AI models, allowing Meta to handle way more data and creative choices at once fast. So what's interesting here is that more information and more selection doesn't seem to be a problem for the system, where analogies in the past may lead us to think that we would overwhelm the system if we give it too many choices. Why is Andromeda important? Creative is now the main lever, not just who you target. Andromeda allows Meta to look at all the creative variations you've uploaded and choose the right one for the right person at the right time. It handles creative matching at scale. Previously, if you had 20 creative versions, only a few might get significant delivery. With Andromeda, Meta can actually process and test many at once. Like what I was just saying. It powers Gen AI and automation features. Tools like Advantage Plus Creative or Creative Diversification depend on Andromeda work. Without it, those systems couldn't decide how to tweak creatives per user. For context, what they're talking about is this over here, where you can add in enhancements that auto create modifications to your creative with the objective of improving performance. And right now, at the time of recording, I actually don't turn this on at this time, but I may open up to start testing it a little bit more, knowing that Andromeda is behind the scenes. I've just historically been a bit reserved in making changes and adopting the latest recommendations too quickly because they haven't always panned out the way that we've wanted them to. Implications: what you should do: upload multiple creative versions per ad, include a mix of formats, videos, images, different hooks, different CTAs. Even if they feel similar, small differences give the system more to work with. Again, there's a lot of overlap here between Gem and Lattice and then Andromeda, where the theme seems to be more, even if similar, is okay, which is, I think, a nice distinction, or rather something to call out, so that the argument between should you do iterative stuff versus net new drastic stuff can just sort of dissolve, and for us to feel okay with the answer being both and not having it be a cop-out. Use tools like Advantage Plus Creative and Dynamic Experiences. These features let Meta automatically adapt or enhance your creative using AI, and Andromeda powers it behind the scenes. Let Meta adjust elements like aspect ratios, text overlays, or animation for better performance. So the reason why advertisers, I believe, are hesitant to do this one is because when you run into what it's outputted in the wild lately, or up until now, the results have looked pretty bad. Where visually it looks like they made things worse rather than better. And then they're spending your money on the thing that they just made worse for you. So some hesitation, but kind of like with CBO when it came out in 2019, the adoption to it being normal may just take some time and some feedback from bigger advertisers. Plan for creative testing at scale. You don't need 100 polished assets. You need variety. Think in terms of creative themes or concepts rather than obsessing over perfect production. A simple way to think about this to see if we're covering our bases is with this simple 2x2 grid. So what we can do is on one axis, look at production. So high production, low production. And then on one side, we can say, let's say professional and homemade. And the thought in the past may be subjectively, the ads up in this corner over here are what we want to make. And that the stuff that's down here is stuff that is bad for business, bad for brand, and not really the stuff that we want to put out. But based on Andromeda, what actually comes to mind is not a trade-off between the two, but rather, can we fill out this 2x2 matrix so that we have as much variety as possible inside of our ad accounts, so that there's stuff that can resonate with the person or people across different people, where we have stuff that's more like UGC homemade, and then there's high production, high brand value stuff, and then there's stuff that's in between, so that we can cover all our bases when it comes to within the journey of a single customer, but then also appealing to many different customers as well. So kind of getting a 2-for-1 with it. What you should stop doing: stop relying on 1 to 2 hero creatives. The more options you give Meta, the better its personalization engine can perform. Stop disabling automation features. Don't turn off Advantage Plus features unless you're testing something very specific. These tools are how Andromeda flexes its muscles. Stop over-controlling delivery. If you're setting manual rules about which creative to show to which audience, you're likely limiting performance. So a lot of overlap on what's been mentioned previously with Gem and Lattice. But I'll say it again, this one is still one that I'd be hesitant to roll out count-wide all at once. I'd probably trickle it out and monitor performance. Old scenario, old way, or example scenario, old way. You have one winning video ad and you use it across every ad set. You test manually by audience. It's a very classic tactic, very logical one as well. Horizontal scaling. Andromeda way, you upload 5 video variations, 3 image ads, and 4 headlines. Meta's AI chooses which combination works best for each viewer. For example, a product-focused image with a short headline for someone who skims, a longer testimonial video for someone who watches more stories, a playful version of your ad for someone with the history of engaging with fun content. So here's an example that I did earlier to illustrate this point for the brand Dad Gang. So they have this new release of a cream/sand horsepower color on their horsepower hat. And I don't think these guys are big fans of using AI at this time, but I thought it'd be interesting to illustrate what is being said over here when it comes to this showing different combinations for each viewer. So what's interesting here with what Sora's done is it's shown the hat being portrayed in lots of different scenarios. So we have one with the ultrasound. We have one opening it kind of like a gift. We have one where the dude or the dad is hanging out with his toddler. We have one with a newborn. We have one where it's Father's Day. We have another one like EDC style. We have another one where it's fun selfie and this guy's got floating arms over here. Another one at soccer, another one at the barbecue or barbecuing, and then another one playing video games. So for one person, maybe for me as an example, because I am a dad, maybe for me, my sequence in me seeing these ads to lead me to convert is seeing maybe the ultrasound photo and then seeing the newborn photo and then seeing the toddler one and then seeing, let's say, the barbecue one, right? And then in that sequence of seeing these 4 different ads over the span of 3 days, I end up buying. Instead of focusing on, let's say, oh, we have to get the perfect EDC ad because EDC is one thing that works well for us. Bottom line, Andromeda turns Meta into your creative matchmaker. Your job is to feed it creative diversity and let the system handle the matchmaking between person and message. Don't try to outsmart it, just give it more raw material. Which I think is a really important analogy to think about when it comes to Andromeda being a creative matchmaker, because a lot of thinking in direct response marketing comes from the world of direct mail, right? And TV as well, where you don't have technology that gives you this level of personalization because it's simply not feasible. Because when it comes to direct mail, right, the reality that we face with direct mail or with TV is that if you send out direct mail and you have, let's say, 10,000 homes in California that you want to hit up, it's kind of impossible to completely personalize the exact messaging at the exact right time for each of these 10,000 homes. Logistically and technologically, it's just not really a thing right now. So the next best thing that you can do, and the thing that we've been thinking about and the way that we've been operating when it comes to direct response, direct marketing, both in direct mail and TV and online, is let's try to find the one ad that can appeal to all 10,000 homes and maximize conversion rate across the 10,000. How can we find the widest, or rather the widely and broadly appealing messaging, like the Justin Bieber or the Michael Jackson or the Weeknd of ads that will be well received by all 10,000 of these homes so that we can get the highest conversion rate possible. But with Andromeda, because of technology and because of AI and because of the ability for Meta to understand your behavior and understand your context so well. The old model of one ad to rule them all and the finding the Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift ad that's going to appeal to everyone isn't something we have to do anymore. Instead, it's kind of more like Spotify or YouTube, where micro creators can appeal to each of these individually and as a result provide even more performance overall. So I think the analogy here, or rather the new reality, is if the past you would have one winning ad that would yield maybe an overall conversion rate of 3%. In the new way, with all these changes with Gem and Andromeda and Lattice, it's 10,000 or let's say 5,000 tiny little ads might yield you instead a 5% conversion rate because of the personalization and tailored journeys. Last one, sequence learning, the memory game. Sequence learning is an AI modeling technique that enables our ads system to consider the sequence of actions a person takes before and after seeing an ad. This allows a deeper understanding of the purchase journeys people take, allowing us to deliver more personalized and relevant ads at the right time. Sequence model learning techniques do this by more deeply understanding patterns around a conversion to better infer sequence of ads for optimizing future conversions for purchase. Said differently, for example, previously with traditional aggregated data models, if a user converted on one ski resort ad, they may continue to see other ski resort ads. With recent changes in our ads learning model, after purchasing a ski resort from a ski resort room, a person would now see ads for ski equipment, lift tickets, or ski luggage, providing more relevant ads personalized to the purchase journey. Since we adopted sequence model learning last year, we've already seen a 3% increase in conversions based on testing with selected segments. What is the plain language version of this? Sequence learning is Meta's AI that understands the order of events a person goes through before and after clicking an ad. In other words, it doesn't just look at what someone did, it pays attention to when and in what order they did it. That allows Meta to better predict what ads to show next to move them further down the path to conversion. Why is sequence learning important? It personalizes the ad journey, not just individual ads. Meta no longer treats each ad as a standalone experience. Now it can understand your customer's path and adjust what ad comes next based on what just happened. It makes retargeting smarter. Rather than showing the same product ad on repeat, Meta can now shift gears. If someone already bought the flight, it shows them luggage. If they watched a product demo, it shows them a discount offer next. It improves results across the funnel. By recognizing where someone is in the journey, e.g. discovery, consideration, intent, purchase, sequence learning helps serve the right message at the right moment automatically. So it kind of goes back to that example of what I was talking about previously, where for me, as like a new dad, as an example, winding back a few years ago, potentially seeing this first and then seeing the toddler one, or rather the newborn one, and then the toddler one, and then the barbecue in that sequence might be what causes me to be triggered to want to buy. And of course, it goes beyond the scope. Like in addition to these types of ads and this variety and diversity, there's other diversity like offer ads and discount ads and so forth. Tactical implication, what you should do. Think in sequences, not silos. Build campaigns and creatives that match different stages: awareness, consideration, purchase, post-purchase, inside your ad account for easier tracking. I think the big one here is actually post-purchase, because a big part of e-commerce, especially for brands that don't have inherent recurring or reoccurring properties where people either retransact or come back to buy on their own volition, having stuff that communicates to people who already bought is really important. And it gives us more motivation to think about how we advertise to not just new customers, but also to existing customers and existing customers who may have lapsed. What it can also encourage us to do tactically is to load up our ad accounts with more SKUs. I'd say if we take a look at a typical ad account, likely roughly 100% of ads that are in there are for the purpose of driving new customer acquisition. But with sequence learning, it may actually give us some reasons for filling up some of our ad account to be creative for existing customers and how we may want to ascend them or resell them or have them come back and buy. They haven't done it in a while. So that instead of this taking up 100%, right, where new customer acquisition is the sole responsibility of the ad account, or rather the sole priority of the ad account, we start to open up and think about it a little bit more holistically, where a portion of what we're doing in the ad account is also supportive of making the most of the customers that you did acquire, and you're loading more things in to make the most of the customers that you did acquire with the new customer acquisition creatives so that your overall contribution margin dollar can grow. Number 2, use retargeting and exclusion logic more intentionally. Exclude purchasers from the intro offer ad set and retarget them with upsells or bundles. Align messaging with where they are in the funnel. Diversify creative messaging. Don't just say buy now in every ad. Use content like testimonials, how it works demos, time-sensitive offers. What you should stop doing: stop showing the same ad after someone converts. Use dynamic exclusions or custom audiences to shift messaging. That's an interesting one, because I would think that with Andromeda, it would know whether or not someone has converted already and what to show them. So the fact that we are being recommended here to use dynamic exclusions or custom audiences to shift the messaging sounds like we're actually taking more control. So this might be where ChatGPT has gotten it wrong potentially, but that's something we can experiment with. Stop treating all customers the same. Someone who watched 75% of your video needs a different nudge than someone who clicked but didn't buy. Stop thinking in isolated ads. You're building an experience, not just an impression. I do like this distinction where you're building an experience, not just an impression, because it makes us think a lot more holistically when it comes to being resourceful in how we think about diversity. Because with diversity, we can think about it as just randomly lots of different things, or we can think about it as a structured path that people can sort of bounce between depending on their preferences. And maybe not an exactly linear structured path, but rather a structured way to approach how it is we go about organizing our deliverables to serve diversity. Example scenario: old way, you run one product ad and hope people convert. Even if someone buys, they still see the same ad tomorrow. Sequence learning way, a new prospect sees a video ad, clicks to the site but doesn't buy, now gets a carousel showing product benefits, then gets an offer ad, after purchase gets an upsell or cross-sell. Meta automates a lot of this flow, but you need to provide the right assets for each step. Bottom line, sequence learning means Meta thinks like a story editor, not just a spotlight operator. You're not showing a single ad, you're telling a story over time, and Meta is trying to pick the next best chapter. Your job is to write those chapters: awareness, trust, action, follow-up, and let the system assemble them dynamically. So as a recap, we got Gem, Lattice, Andromeda, and sequence learning. Gem matches the best ad to the best person using massive data. Lattice combines all meta surfaces and objectives into one learning system. Andromeda powers personalization of which creative is shown and to whom, and sequence learning understands the order of actions users take before and after ads. So if we were to recap the actionables from the announcement that Meta made, how I would think about it is: 1, make lots of diverse ads. 2, let go of granular targeting. And I'd say 3 would be, it's not about one ad to rule them all. It's about many ads to rule them all personally. And what I mean by that is just full personalization for lots of different people, as opposed to the direct mail / direct TV advertising days where you try to go for that broad appeal. Now we're trying to go for more granular appeal because the technology allows for it. And as an example, we got Hollow Socks pulled up on pace for 50 million a year this year. So we can see as an example with, let's say, this ad here that's appealing to a certain type of person where there's like these like Tims. So these boots with the socks feature and the headlines. With these different headlines, they are appealing to different people and also potentially the same person at different stages of the funnel or the journey with them. So we can see here, this fixed my sweaty feet, 30 years of sweaty feet gone in 9 days. I threw away all my other socks after wearing these for just 1 week. The only socks that keep your feet dry without feeling like cardboard. They're speaking to a lot of different things with these different headlines. I worked 14 hours without changing socks once. My feet stayed completely dry. So applicable to those who work really long hours. I hiked 26 miles without changing socks once. My feet stayed completely dry. Appealing to those who like to go hiking. Foot pain after work for those who are having pain. Blisters. So lots of different appeals. Lots of different flavors of Frovio for people to choose from. Or rather for Facebook and its AI to choose and then serve. And then we can see here again, basically the same headlines, same variety of headlines, but on a different style of image that may appeal to a different type of person or same person at different stages of the relationship. And then beyond that, there's further diversity in different styles of ads. Like they have more UGC style, and this one's with someone who's in her 3rd trimester. We have podcast style. There's more news article style. So lots of variety here compared to, let's say, just socks on a plain white background. The final roundup, as told by AI itself, with Gem, personalization is the job of the AI. Your job is to give diverse inputs. With Lattice, don't split your learning, combine it and let the system generalize faster. With Andromeda, stop thinking one size, one ad fits all. Think, let Meta pick the perfect match. So let it be your matchmaker. In sequence learning, build journeys, not isolated messages, and think beyond the click.